Je vais switcher en anglais. Donc, thank you again. First of all, today, this is the continuation of the last webinar that has been held on the same topic, which is contract and risk management tools. So this is the volume 2 or episode 2. So today we are going to emphasize a little bit on contract management and the link with BIM. Why? First of all, because I have been in the BIM since a couple of years, and two, we are having today with us Thinkproject, and they have developed a complete solution through an environmental common data environment. So I will benefit from this webinar to explain a little bit more about this link. So what is contract management solution? I will begin. Maybe we have seen this before. So a quick definitions, or what does digital contract management solution refers to. First of all, this is an information system, okay, that stores and that manages all contract documents. We can find all the documents and all the data related to contracts through this information system. Second, this solution is equipped with tools and techniques, and nowadays with the advancement in technology, artificial intelligence, and blockchain technology, we can help accelerate, facilitate the process through the solution. Third, this solution it will help us also maintaining all documents associated with the contracts from the beginning till the end of the process, such as schedule revisions, emails, minutes of meetings, change orders, etc. And finally, the digital contract management solutions, it will help optimizing the process flow through an efficient collaborations between stakeholders. So finally, we know very well how much managing contracts data could be complex, and it really needs to be automated. And the essential here, and this will guide me to the next slide, is the collaboration. And talking about collaboration, we will talk next about BIM, building information modeling. I think everybody in France, in Europe, all over the world, and recently, maybe more in France, we started talking about building information modeling. So what is building information modeling? The three letters that everybody now has heard of them. So first of all, BIM, it is not a tool. The majority, maybe there's an important number of persons that consider BIM is the 3D model. This is the la maquette numérique. Well, it is not only that. It is not the virtual models. It is not the platform. In fact, it englobes the information management process. It englobes a database, and it englobes also a multidisciplinary organization of the project. So, how we, when I say we here in Horisis Conseil, how we define them. So, For us, BIM is a collaborative working method that is based on a set of construction project management processes associated with an intelligent 3D digital model as a central element of exchanges between various project stakeholders. So it is really about collaboration. It is really a methodology of work, and it is based really on a project management process with an intelligent 3D model. I will try to little bit create the link or explain the link between BIM, between contract management, and between project management. So what is the link? I will start first to explain the link between BIM and contract management. Let us start with contract management. This is the main topic today. So working in BIM mode, if we can say so, requires first of all a legal framework, okay, for the practice of the BIM itself. You cannot just start a new project with a new methodology, with the new standards, with the new organization, and this is the situation when you are working with BIM. So this legal framework and this contract process, it will start in a project executed with BIM from the beginning, in fact, from the need assessment stage to the procurement and pre-award stage, to post-award and delivery stage, and progressing throughout the complete life cycle of a construction project. So we are talking about the planning, design, and bid phase, where it is very important to have a clear legal framework and a clear contractual terms and conditions. And then when we are going to launch the build stage or the construction phase, we should have a very clear idea about some points regarding who will be managing the data, because finally the most important thing in the BIM process is the information, the data itself. So it should be very clear from the beginning how we are going to manage contractual aspects from planning and conception to construction phase, and of course at the end of the project, whether it's going to be operation maintenance or maybe rehabilitation or finally demolition. So another aspect is working with collaborative solutions, and especially working in a common data environment. And I will leave next the next speaker from Thinkproject maybe to talk a little bit more about common data environment, and this is what Thinkproject will show us later. So working with such collaborative solutions have many advantages for the two processes. So I'm talking about the BIM process, the BIM management process, and the contract management process. How? In fact, well, and thanks to the centralization and the traceability of the project data, of the project documents, of the BIM models itself, and also the task, everything that could be done through a collaborative platform. This can facilitate very much the maintenance of the consistency of the project documentation. So the collaborative platform integrated with BIM and integrated with other solutions like contract management solution, like also other environmental common data solution that we will see later on, helps a lot as well in resolving potential conflicts from the early design stage, and this will lead automatically to a reduction in the number of change orders and in better anticipation of contractual, financial, and of course operational risks throughout the project life cycle. So this is for the link between BIM and contract management. Let us now see the link between BIM and project management itself. So as we have defined earlier, BIM is a collaborative working method which is based on a set of project management processes, and therefore to succeed in a project with BIM, a structured project management approach must be adopted or applied. So the BIM provides huge support to the project's process, starting from the need stage. In fact, and during this stage, we will be defining the EIR, or the Employee Information Requirement. So plutôt les exigences de la maîtrise d'ouvrage, to the preparation of a pre-award and post-award BIM execution plan during the procurement stage. So we are in the procurement stage, in the bidding, and proceeding to the master information delivery plan, MIDP, during the build stage, and so on. So BIM also offers advantages to the project management process, not only in the design phase, but also during the build phase. And this is specifically thanks to what we call the 4D planning or the 4D BIM, where we could associate, for example, with each project of the 3D BIM model, a planning schedule, and we can better visualize and better communicate all the construction phases step by step. And this makes it possible to anticipate potential conflicts between the different phases of the build stage, and also between the interfaces between different work packages and different disciplines. So finally, and not to forget, also as well, thanks to the integration of the BIM process and the contract management process in this collaborative platform, it becomes a very effective tool, in fact, that helps to maintain control on project progress, and it's becoming a magnificent communication tool between all project stakeholders. So this is for my part for the relation between BIM and contract management. Thank you for attention. I will turn it over now to our next speaker, Jérôme, from Thinkproject. Jérôme, alors à toi, si tu veux partager ton écran.
Ça devrait être bon maintenant.
Ouais.
Voyez-vous l'écran?
Samer, il faut
pas encore. J'arrête de ma part.
Ok.
Voilà. Oui, c'est bon. Il faut juste mettre en plein écran.
Est-ce que c'est bon?
Yes.
Ouais, c'est bon.
Ouais, c'est bon.
Ok, bonjour à toutes et tous. I'm Jérôme Andreu, the Commercial Director for Thinkproject France. Let me first of all give you some figures regarding BIM. The BIM adoption has increased from 10% in 11 to more than 70% in 19, which is a huge increase. 60% of the users consider that BIM has improved their efficiency. And the digitalization and digital continuity is now a major issue, and we saw that with the example of the Notre Dame Cathedral rebuilding. What is a common data environment? It's a vital tool and the only guarantee for the digital continuity. Even if people have different jobs or in different sectors, such as contract management, doc control, finance, everyone must continue to look at the same project and the same picture. That's why we built what we call an EDC, Environnement de Données Commun, where you can put all the different bricks, such as contract management tool, BIM tool, cost management tools, etc. In Thinkproject, we have a different portfolio. We have platforms, common data environments, and specific tools such as BIM managers, cost managers, or contract management tools, CMA. That's what Megan is going to show you in a direct live demo right now. It was really a short intro, but I want everyone to focus on the live demo, which is far beyond the more interesting part. And Megan, the floor is yours.
Merci. Thank you, Jérôme. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and introduce you to CMA contract management. So for those who haven't been introduced to CMA before, CMA is a secure web-based tool, lives in the cloud. It's been built specifically to administer the various contracts that are let within the construction industry. Started off with the NEC form of contract. We've also built versions for FIDIC, and it's fully configurable, and we're finalizing introducing language versions as well. So I'm just going to give you a quick run through of what CMA can do. I've logged in to my CMA account, and it's given me access to my contracts, which is a list of discrete contract databases to which I've been assigned. We'll have a look at that in a moment. I've also got access to the administration program. We're just refreshing that at the moment, so we've got a beta version where we're enhancing the functionality. But this administrators program means I have the autonomy within my team to manage my user base and also add new contracts as and when they're let, but not everybody gets access to this area. But everybody should have access to the analytics, and this is our reporting tool. And this is where we can aggregate data from multiple contracts and start to track trends in behaviors, cost, quality, risk, time, etc. And that's where the beauty of CMA comes alive. You can manage your portfolio of works, your program of works, a huge framework of projects. We'll come to that at the end once we've just had a bit of a glimpse of how communications are managed within CMA. If I click on contracts, this takes me to the list of discrete contract databases to which I've been assigned. This is a demo environment. I work for a fictitious council, and I'm attached to all of these contracts. I've also got access to a practice contract. So this is a safe sandpit area where users can go and play about with CMA and familiarize themselves with the workflows. You'll see that I've been assigned to a party, and I'm also displaying the type of contract that this is. And so what CMA will do is it will take the same set of contract data for a unique discrete contract and then offer two separate views for each party. So as an employer, I can instruct a quotation, but I wouldn't submit. As the contractor, I submit a quotation, but I couldn't accept. So we're going to have the right workflows for the party. And then the type of contract that it is, that's determining the terminology that we're using in each of the contract databases. So when you've got a FIDIC contract, there's an employer's representative versus a contractor. And an EC for professional services contract has a client with a consultant. So automatically CMA's built these off-the-shelf modules that are contractually compliant. I'm actually going to go through the NEC3 ECC and have a look at one of those contracts that's underway within Steepleshire Council. So I click into the discrete contract database. There's a little banner, gives me confidence I'm in the right area. And there's three areas of CMA, typically a toolbar. There's a bit of descriptive text when you hover over each of the icons. There's a menu bar which flies out and everything opens up nice and clear on the desktop. The menu bar actually is a bit like a virtual filing cabinet. This is where we go to create our blank forms. So if I wanted to create an early warning or a compensation event, I simply create new. I've got a whole host of registers tracking all of those communicated events, and we've got the whole area of reports and archive and admin. We've also got a support drawer where we can submit tickets, watch video tutorials, examine help articles, and so it's really well supported to help the CMAR user get up to speed. There's a lot of online help. But so I've clicked into my contract, and it might be because I've just been alerted that there's a communication that's been pinged over to me, and it'll appear in my reminders page. Now this is our default homepage. So this is showing actions in the NEC3 ECC outstanding for the project managers party. When we expand them, we can see that they're given a red, amber, green status, so a RAG status. We've set this contract up so that anything that's more than 50% of the reply period in which to reply is green. Once it's less than 50% of the reply period, the reminder turns amber, and overdue, it will turn red. So we're keeping track of all of our outstanding actions. Have we got plenty of time, not much time, or is it overdue? I can also switch the view and have a look at actions outstanding and owed to me by my contractor. I'm not snooping. This is just information that's shared and freely available in CMAR, but I can see, well, have I notified that compensation event? Am I waiting for a quotation? Yes, but actually there's still 21 days to go. You can also extract information from CMAR and look at all of the reminders for both parties in one single view. And although CMAR lives in the cloud, internet-based, you can always get your hands on that data. So every view, every register, every event, you can extract those contract documents. So I'm just downloading a copy of the reminders page, and this can be done as a PDF, as an Excel spreadsheet, or as a Word document. And so that information can be extracted from CMAR. So there's a reminders page with the logo of the contract, all of our reminders, and every download is time and date stamped. So it's perfectly clear that this information has just been extracted. It's live information. It's not last week's report. I could print that off and take it to a progress meeting with my contractor. No surprises. We all know exactly what's outstanding on CMAR because it's shared information. But it can be from that progress meeting that we actually identify that perhaps the project manager is awaiting a quotation for a compensation event about site access, and due to COVID or Brexit, it might be that we're going to need a bit more time. So I can manage those extensions in the period for apply by discussing the response period and extending. By the by. So this reminders page keeps you on track, what's outstanding, and what's sitting with which party. So we can have a look at actions outstanding and owed to the contractor by the project manager. And if I pick on these early warnings, I'm just going to have a quick look at what's outstanding. We've just received today an email alert to say that there's a risk that the champagne stocks will be running low. So we've got an early warning that's been notified. We've got 14 days to reply. If I click into that, I can see that there's an early warning number 261 notified by the contractor. We've got some details. So the contractor will have followed the process of opening up a draft early warning, creating some information, filling in a description, and then giving it a risk status, which is a 5x5 matrix measuring the severity and the likelihood. In accordance with clause 16 of the conditions of contract, the contractor will have been reminded to tick whether what early warning matters under the conditions of contract will apply, and they will have sent and progressed and notified us. I can see that CMAR's created a contractually compliant letter. So if I look at the notification that's been created by the contractor when they've notified this early warning, CMAR's actually writing a letter. So it's pulling forward the logos and addresses from contract data. It's giving it an author bar. It's actually given it a unique document log number, a sequentially numbered log of all the documents that are created within the contract. It's pulled forward the early warning number that's been allocated from that register that we're going to look at in a moment, and all of the information that the contractor submitted within that form is in that letter, and of course it's time and date stamped. Now there's 3 reasons we write these letters, and it happens with every single event that's communicated under contractual communications within each contract. Now the first reason, it will keep you compliant. So it's going to be using the right verbs and language. It will reference the relevant clauses. Under the NEC contract, I believe you have to write 3 separate letters for a compensation event. You need a PMI, a project manager's instruction, instructing the change, a compensation event notification, and a separate instruction for quotation. So CMAR automatically captures that for you. So it will keep you compliant. It also gives you this letter, which gives you a really robust audit trail. There's absolutely no ambiguity about who said what the details were, where the actions sat. Because I've got delegated authority on behalf of the contractor, there's no need for a wet signature. I can sign off on behalf of the contractor or the named project manager. We don't delete anything in CMAR. So once this letter's written, it's as though it's been printed and put in the post box. It's a small part of history. And whether that's 2 minutes ago or 2 years ago, we will not amend or delete it. So it's a very robust audit trail. So you can give your auditors read-only access to CMAR. They can audit the contract remotely. And finally, at any point, vital that you can get your hands on the contract document. So the super user within the administration program can download and export from CMAR a communications archive, which will be a neatly folded zip file, including all of the PDF letters, along with any attachments that have been uploaded as well. So we have a reminder in the reminders page that we have 14 days to reply to this early warning. And so this is where we can then pick up that reminder, and I can go to my reply tab and I can type in my reply. Now I could put anything in here, such as I'll order more champagne, or I'll look into the agreement or whatever, and send and progress and notify the early warning, or notify the reply. But we do have the ability to tick that the reply is not applicable to this early warning, because under the NEC form of contract, there is no obligation to reply to an early warning. It's not contractual. It's something we've built for best practice. And that will kill the reminder in the reminders page and take out the reply due by date in the register. And it could be that we're just about to open up our contract on a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting, or to actually discuss and hold a risk reduction meeting. So this is where CMAR will come into play. We'll simply open up the the early warning register, and we can then start to talk about how we're going to mitigate some of these risks. Now, just before the contractor dials in, I might want to filter my view, because at the moment I'm showing all of my early warnings, all 297 items. Now, some of these at the top, you'll see a draft. At the moment, they're in draft. They haven't been communicated to the opposite party, so they're party private. So I'm going to hide those by changing the settings of the page. And let's just filter by reference EW, and that will bring forward all of the notified early warnings that are shared with both parties. You'll see this register contains sequentially numbered early warnings that are notified by either party. It's a shared register, so there's no chance for duplicate number. I can see some of these are in grey. They've been avoided and passed to the heavy snow over the weekend. Don't think that's quite relevant to today's weather, but I can exclude those avoided and passed early warnings because they're no longer current risk. So we only want to discuss today the early warnings that are current, and we've got 126 items. So if I then filter by score, I can look at the highest scoring early warnings, and that will bring forward those early warnings that are the most severe and the most likely. So we've now got 44 items. And of course, this is now where we can go into the CMAR live, both parties looking at the same information, and we can start to examine how we're going to mitigate that risk. So we can have a look at the originally notified information, the details. If I have more information to add, I can't change any of this information. I can't overwrite it because it was notified by the contractor at 12:55 today. So not long ago. But if I want to add more information, I've got tabs at the top here, which give me the option of making associations, adding tags, attachments, and notes, so I can add more information. We can make this private, so it's just visible to our party. So it's a bit like sending an internal email, writing in our site diary, or we can actually share that information with both parties by unchecking the box at the bottom. We can upload attachments. So this means you can actually browse your computer to find the relevant file. And upload. I can give it a title and upload. Now, with CMAR obviously being part of the Thinkproject group, if you have a license for CMAR and also a license for the Common Data Environment or Document Management Solutions, then when you browse your document management system and select the file, leave a footprint. But this file now is attached, time and date stamped and authored, so it's perfectly clear who uploaded what, when. We've also got the option of tagging, and this is where we can put parent and child tags, so we can tag metadata to each of the individual unique events. And this is where you could put your BIM model information or your work breakdown structures, that sort of information in. And we can then use an association, so we don't need to use the tagging for tagging this with another early warning or a payment assessment or a compensation event. We simply add, save and close, and the two events are now linked within CMAR. And this is a bit like a mini hyperlink. So when I click through, it'll take me through to the associated event in question. And there's an automatic reverse association to our early warning number 261. So of course, we've got a lot more information into the early warning. There's some little icons that have appeared with that denote that there's an association or attachment or a note. And we can use the risk reduction tab here to actually start to talk about how we're going to mitigate the risk. So I'm going to create a new risk reduction proposal, and it might be that we just go home if the champagne's run out, give up, and this might obviously affect the program. I'm actually going to avoid that proposal. It's not something we're going to action, but it has highlighted the fact that Meg perhaps needs a bit of jollying up and encouraging to keep going. So our proposal could be that we actually restock. So we'll contact our suppliers and perhaps reassess the supply agreement. We might actually go over budget if we haven't allowed enough champagne to complete the course. I'm going to get Megan to sort that out. Doesn't have to be anybody within CMAR. It could be the name of the company or an authority, and give them a date by which it needs to be actioned. So you can handball a huge amount of information and capture your conversations about how you want to mitigate this risk. And it could be that actually that means the risk has been avoided and passed. And so we can click that radio dial, it'll be grayed out and avoided and passed. It won't be a current risk within the early warning register. So don't forget, this is shared data. Both parties see exactly the same information apart from draft events. And so we've got a track, a record here of when the early warning was notified, by whom, where the action sat. And then we've also got a record of the risk reduction proposals that sit behind these early warnings. Now, once we've completed and gone through all of our early warnings, we can then download and export a copy of the register. So we can get our hands on that information. So I can either print a summary, which is just the early warning information, or I can export and print a detailed register, which will take that information out of CMAR. So here we have our early warnings, the original notification, and the risk reduction proposals that sit behind it. So CMAR is a really powerful tool to give you the mechanism of you've got your communication templates. So you open up a draft, CMAR walks you through the contractual compliant process of communicating that event within CMAR. And once you've notified it, it will give it a number, put it in the register, alert and remind the opposite party, and give you this register that you can then manage and record historic data in. Just going to briefly touch on the fact that obviously most contracts we're trying to manage program, price, but risk and change as well. So it might be that this early warning, we haven't managed to mitigate the lack of champagne, and it's actually resulted in a change to total the prices or change to the completion date. And so we can go into the early warning and actually from that create a draft compensation event. And this would bring forward all of the information from that early warning and pre-populate a draft event, so we don't need to start from scratch. So all of the associations, attachments and notes, tags if we had them, would be there. The title and detail are there, so if we've spent a lot of time typing up information, we don't need to redo that. But this is a new event, so we can change this information. So we can give it a title. The next field's a cross-reference field. It's not mandatory, but it's searchable. So if you have a priced project risk register or a purchase order system that you need to reference, then you can bring that information into CMAR. Different from the associations tab, it's a cross-reference field. And then under the NEC form of contract, there's a clause 60.1 where one needs to then reference the compensation event type. And this can be configured when this contract's set up. So if there's Z clauses changing, adding, amending those compensation event types, then we can capture them here. We've also got the function of, as a preference of actually categorizing your change against different items. And then as the employer, I can input a change, my anticipated change to total the prices and any anticipated change to the completion date. Now this is party private. In the end of the NEC, it's not contractual, so it's not shared with the other party. We'll see how that helps keep track of all of the change that's ongoing as we go through the process. So I've completed my form. I'm good to go. I can send and progress. Just before I do, I'll just show that CMAR is actually writing 3 separate letters. So a project manager's instruction, a compensation event notification, and a separate instruction for quotation. And if we quickly look at one of those, this is actually a draft event. So it's a preview. It's not been given a document log number yet. It's given it a draft compensation event status. It's referencing clause 61.1. All of that contractually compliant clause reference and language is being used. We're also referencing the 2 drafts that are being created against this compensation event. And also because the attachment that was pulled forward from the early warning is there at time of writing, it's mentioned and referenced within the contractual communication. CMAR is intuitive, so for those of you who are used to the NEC form of contract, if I were to change this to, let's say, weather's happened, it's not instructed, then CMAR automatically drops the project manager's instruction. So I'm good to go. I can send and progress. Now within CMAR, we have 3 tiers of governance that can restrict or allow users to communicate. So we have a basic read-only, draft-only, full permissions process. And then if we have full permissions, you've also then got the option of adding the 2nd tier where you can add thresholds in both time and money. We can also set up a 3rd tier, which will allow certain events or groups of events or single event needs to go to an individual or a body of individuals for approval before it can be sent. So we suggest you keep it simple, but we can get quite complex and set up those approval processes and reflect the delegated authority within your team. But if I just have a look at the approvals commentary, the very minimum, I've got some alerted managers on this contract. So you can just alert a manager and then they can manage the outstanding drafts and approvals. But I've got full permissions and unlimited thresholds in this contract, so I can send the communications and say, okay. So of course, CMAR then will go through the same process of giving it a number, putting it in the register. CMAR will then alert and remind the opposite party that the compensation event number 301 has been notified. Please log on to CMAR to action. And there'll be a reminder in the reminders page to submit that quotation within 21 days. Those letters are now written and stored in 2 separate areas. We have an archive, which is neatly folded into different event types. There's our CE 301, and we also have a documents log. which is the sequentially numbered log of all the documents that have been created within CMAR. If we have a look at our reminders page, there isn't a reminder to submit a quotation for compensation events because that's now sitting with the contractor. So there's our number 301. The quotation is required in 21 days. Now, if we have a look at the compensation event register, we can quite clearly keep track of every event. We can see the draft ones that haven't yet been sent, so they're party private. And we can see that my compensation event number 301 has got a figure in amber, and the change to total of the prices and the change to completion date. So we can track the estimated stage of those compensation events. So we've got £61,000 worth of compensation event that could affect the completion date by 58 days that we've estimated ourselves, and we've not yet received a quotation from the contractor. Once the contractor submits the quotation, the figure turns black and reflects the most recent quotation. So at the moment, we've got £1,400 worth of change for which we've not replied to the quotation. And once we've accepted the quotation and implemented the compensation event, then the figure turns blue. So I can quite clearly see that we've not yet received a quotation on this compensation event. These have been implemented. The quotation has not been responded to. Now I'm just going to quickly flip over to the opposite party. Let's move that one out of the way. When I've got a different browser open, and I'm going to go into the same contract, because as the contractor, I've just received an email alert to say compensation event number 301 has been notified. Please log into CMAR to action. So I can have a look at my reminders page. Oh yeah, there's more champagne. So when the contractor clicks into the compensation event, they can't see the estimated change. That's party private. They can go into the quotation tab and add a new quotation as they are instructed to. Now, this is a pretty thin form. We expect the contractor to upload attachments in the attachments tab showing breakdown of the prices, drawings, reports, etc. And they can put as much or as little detail as they like in the details field. So we're not duplicating anything. We're simply capturing the contractual submission of a quotation against a compensation event, and we just need to put in the proposed change to the total of the prices and any change to completion date. Also, if you have key dates and section dates under the NEC contract, we can also track those changes as well. And of course, these can be positive as well as negative. So I'm good to go. I can send and progress. So the contractor in this case has got full permissions with unlimited thresholds. If my threshold were £4,000, then I wouldn't be able to send the communication. I'd have no other option but to alert my manager. So of course I've sent the quotation, submitted it. So it's been given a quote number, it's put in the quote register, the opposite party are alerted and reminded. Now I might have a different supplier or subcontractor or a consultant that can, I perhaps have an alternative quotation that I want to put forward for a review. So I can upload and submit multiple quotations. And it might be that there's a supplier that's slightly more expensive, but they have no impact on time. Perhaps it's because they're so expensive that they can supply the champagne right away. So of course it's got a number, it lives in the register, and the opposite party are alerted and reminded. Now against compensation event number 301, we've got two quotations, one of which affects the dates, one of which doesn't. Both of them are submitted. Now, of course, now we've submitted a quotation, the figure in our compensation event register will have turned black. So I'm just going to hop back to the employer. So you'll notice that the contractor is grey, the employer is blue. And if I just quickly refresh that, we'll see that this is going to reflect the most recent quotation. It's in black. So the figures moved out of estimated into current quote. And of course, we've now got a reminder in the reminders page that there's some quotations for compensation events awaiting a reply. Now, just to close off the process before I move on, I'm just going to go into one of those quotations. I can do my due diligence, download all of the attachments, compare them one against the other, pick up the phone, have a conversation, etc. And then I need to reply under the conditions of this NEC contract. So I can either accept the quotation or instruct a revised quotation, which obviously if I instruct a revised quotation, it will kill this quotation, ping the reminder back to the contractor. But in essence, I'm going to accept this quotation. And by accepting it under the NEC, it means that I will have, by accepting the quotation, I've implemented the compensation event at the value of the accepted quotation. And in fact, CMAR automatically writes a contractually compliant communication stating that in accordance with clause 62.3, my reply to the quotation is I accept. In accordance with 65.1, the compensation event's now implemented. So you don't have to think of this terminology and this language. We're capturing the fact that we've had to change the completion date of 3 dates, the sectional completion dates have changed, the key dates, but importantly, we've had to change the total of the prices. Now, this is also, I don't need to have to go into the other quotation and not accept that one because CMAR automatically tidies up the loose end. So quote number 392 is accepted. Quote number 393 has been superseded by the acceptance of quote number 392. As soon as I've done that, of course, my reminder is going to disappear from my reminders page. I don't need to remember to action something within a certain time frame. And this is all captured in our compensation event register because now compensation event number 301 has turned blue. It's been implemented today at the value of the accepted quotation. So that's just a quick snapshot of the communications that you can raise and track in CMAR, that CMAR is always going to keep you contractually compliant. You can make associations, add attachments, notes, tag it to your BIM model, pick up information from your document management system and reference your CDE. But this is contract management, so it's going to keep you contractually compliant. It will alert and remind the opposite party, build up a register of shared data, a single version of the truth that cannot be deleted or adulterated. It's just magnificent, really. And you can imagine each of those granular pieces of information that's used to create these events is then able to be extracted and reported at any time within CMAR. Obviously, you've got your registers, which can be filtered. So if you wanted to have a look at all of your project manager notified compensation events, this will take out the contractor notified compensation events and leave just party one's notifications. And of course, those can be downloaded and exported either as a summary, just the compensation events, or as a detailed report, which brings forward all of the quotations that sit behind each of these events. We've also got a drawer full of reports that give you single click access to these bits of information. And of course, they're then waiting a decision, they've all been decided. And of course, these can be downloaded as a PDF, as a Word document, as an Excel spreadsheet. And all of these build up into each contract has this contract status report that gives you a snapshot on each unique, discrete, individual project. I'll just download it as a PDF so I can get it a little bit bigger. It gives you a snapshot of where you are with all of the bits of information. So if I just make that a little bit bigger, this will give you a status for each contract. So it'll give you your dates, your planned completion, which will reflect the latest accepted program, your current completion, which will reflect the completion date that's been changed due to compensation events in this instance. So those blue figures in our compensation event register. We'll also then track the price, so the price at contract award, how much that's been changed due to those blue implemented compensation events in your compensation event register, and track the agreed revised total of the prices. Going forward, we've captured our estimated change, the amber figures, the quoted change, the black figures for non-implemented change, which gives us the anticipated change, which could further impact the price. So CMAR will track when your current program is accepted, payments, forecasted completion, impact on key dates and section dates, and then give you a synopsis of each of the event types. So we've got 261 early warnings, including our one about Champagne. 126 are still current, 109 are being managed, 10 need to reply, and 4 of those are overdue. So it just gives you that headline, and of course captures change, proposed instructions, technical queries, general communications, etc. And that's at contract level. But as I said before, if you're managing a portfolio of works, a program of projects, a framework of works, then this is where the CMAR analytics comes into play. So all of that information from your contract is then pushed up and aggregated into multiple registers, etc. So you have the option of selecting which contracts you want to examine the data from. And we can filter by, you can set up different sites, divisions, categories, frameworks, so that you can decide, which particular framework you want to pull information from. So we work with huge infrastructure programs such as the Nuclear Decommissioning Agency within the UK, Heathrow, Highways England, Network Rail, have huge data sets that they filter. So information from all of these contracts is now going to appear in the registers that appear in this menu bar. So it's the same as similar to within the contract, but we've got the option of looking at things like our summary totals, just something as basic as that top line of your contract status report. So when it comes to time across my portfolio of works, what was the starting date and the original completion date? How much has that been changed due to implemented compensation events, the blue figures, in our compensation event register? The plan completion reflects the current plan accepted program, and we can then quite clearly see across our portfolio of works what our terminal float is looking like. And we can do the same with price. And we can aggregate event registers. So if you wanted to look at your aggregated compensation event registers, this information can be pulled out and extracted straight from CMAR. And of course, you can still filter at this level. So it's a really powerful tool where you can cut and slice your data by those categories that happened within our categorization of compensation events. You could look for those. We've also got useful things like aggregated reminders page, so you don't need to dip into each individual contract to find out what items are overdue across your portfolio. Your aggregated internal alerts, so if you're an alerted manager on multiple contracts, you can just simply go into your analytics and pick up a draft that somebody's alerted you by, finish off the information and send and progress directly from analytics. We've also got charts. So these, I'll just show you one. Which one should I show you? These track the trends in communications, behaviors, cost, quality, risk, time. The communications dealt with on time is a fantastic chart. It's basically showing you the number of communications in a period, they're grey bars, and the blue line tracks the percentage dealt with on time. So I can see that we had a dip in February, but we're back on track in April. We can also, these are dynamic charts. If I wanted to have a look at party one communications when it comes to decisions on contractor notified compensation event, let's say it's going to just look at those particular event types. And yes, the contractor's right, we have been a bit tardy lately, but we can identify why that is and start to put things in place to redress that balance. And it might be that this chart just generates a certain amount of healthy discussion as to what information actually is sitting behind this up and down business. Why do we keep having dips every month? And so I can just export the data. And this would download as an Excel spreadsheet with 3 basic tabs, but hugely powerful, so against all of your contracts, how many communications are on time and out of time for the link road section 1. And then we've got a summary. So link road section 1, what communication types were on time and out of time? Why is the reply to a general communication the one that's only 25% dealt with on time? And then if you have trouble sleeping, you can actually download the full information and data set that sits behind and creates those charts. So it's amazingly powerful. And it's only going to improve because we're working on an enhanced version that's powered by Power BI. You know, we've also got dashboarding tools where you can build your own dashboard or use one of ours. And so you can start to bring some of those charts into play and move these around, and so make it really perfect. But hopefully that's given you a good introduction and overview to the power and the simplicity and the the compliance that CMAR offers you. It's not a tool, I would imagine, that you'd use to communicate a fresh event necessarily. But it's somewhere where you capture, report, register, and agree the collaborative processes that you go through by managing your contract and using your skills as project managers. But this gives you something that gives you a single version of the truth shared with both parties in a collaborative manner and keeping you compliant with your contract. So I believe we're going to ask if there are any questions at this point. Is that right, Samir?
Yes, exactly. Thank you very much, Megan. It was very interesting. Do you have any questions? Feel free to ask, whether in English, même en français si vous voulez. On peut toujours faire la traduction à Megan. Profitez, n'hésitez pas. Megan, perhaps on the top of my head, I have maybe one or two questions.
Mm-hmm.
The first question, we talked a little bit about collaboration, and we have talking quickly about having in a common environment data. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so my question is, what about the integrations with other products from Thinkproject, and specifically for me it will be BIM? How it could be integrated and how it is done concretely?
Yes, so we're working on the integration. We've certainly got the process in place for the document management solution. So as I said, when you click into attach a document to your contract management system, then you simply browse to the common data environment, pick up a document, it leaves a footprint to say this document was uploaded into CMAR on the 15th of June or whatever. So we believe in having specific tools for specific jobs. So your contract management is simply that. So it's within your document management system, you'll work up and get that document approved, and then when you're submitting that document to the opposite party as a contract management step, then it's submitted in CMAR as an attachment. So we have that integration in place for document management systems, and it's being built for the other systems within Thinkproject as well. It means you'd have a single sign-on, and those integrations are there. But we are working also very swiftly for open APIs. So if you have an existing system and you'd actually like to push information to or from, then we can look at using those open APIs to manage that integration.
Very good, very good. That was my sub question number 2. Another question maybe also about what level of customization can we expect? We are here in France. There is a different type of contracts used, not necessarily NEC, but it might be other type of contracts.
Yeah, so we've built, we just, as an example, we've built one called the PPC 2000, let's say. So it means we've created a PPC 2000 contract. So this could be whatever your contract is. I don't have, I have inactive user rights on that one. Let me find a different one. but it means that we can rename the modules. So instead of being early warnings, it's advanced warnings. Instead of being compensation events, it's a change event. Payments can be invoices. So we can rename the modules. We can rename the parties. So instead of being a project manager and contractor, we've got a client representative and constructor on this one, and so then that's referenced throughout CMAR. So there's a lot of configuration that we can do about naming the information, and then of course when the contract's set up, we have standard wizards that enable you to input the parties. So your in this case client representative party would be University of Bordeaux, and your constructor would be Bouygues, etc. You can input your start and completion date, your contract price. You can specify your periods for reply, your change types, your early warning matters. So there's a lot of configuration that's already available, and then we can actually, as I said, rename. We are as well in the process of building language changes. So it means that we'll be able to configure CMAR to reflect exactly what you'd like to say.
Very good, very good. This is excellent. Maybe one last question from my side. The data, where the data located and how is it backed up?
Okay, so that's probably a little more technical. We at the moment have military grade servers in the UK. So we have 3 distinct geographical locations. So we have our main server, a backup, and a disaster recovery server. We are looking at hosting CMAR as well in the obviously now we're out of the EU, hosting it back in Europe as well. So those processes are afoot, but it's basically a military grade server that's I believe it's backed up every hour. I'd need to just check on my technical note, but that information we can provide if it's
Very good, very good, very good. Okay, very good. I think that's all from my side. Not quite sure if there is any question among the participants. Pas de questions?
Pas de questions.
Très bien. Ok, Sébastien, peut-être je te laisse le dernier mot.
Oui, thank you so much, Megan. Merci beaucoup, Jérôme. Merci beaucoup, Samer. C'était vraiment
Avec plaisir.
très intéressant. C'était, comme je l'ai dit tout à l'heure, la deuxième fois qu'on faisait un séminaire sur les outils. On voit qu'il y a beaucoup d'outils qui sont différents, qui interviennent à différents moments. Je crois que on recommencera comme je l'ai dit, hein, on en fera d'autres et on montrera finalement à terme toute l'étendue des possibilités qui sont offertes. Donc vraiment merci beaucoup à Thinkproject, merci beaucoup au cabinet Horisis et je vous donne rendez-vous pour le 24 juin prochain pour le dernier séminaire de l'année universitaire qui sera encore une fois sur le contract et le risk management, mais cette fois-ci dirigé vers l'exécution de marché, et ça sera avec Mélanie Spignololo-Peuf. Et donc, vous aurez de la publicité sur le lien LinkedIn, évidemment, comme d'habitude. Et puis, vous retrouverez très prochainement cette vidéo sur la chaîne YouTube dédiée au contract management. Donc, merci encore à vous 3 et merci à tous les participants qui sont venus vous écouter.
Merci à tout le monde. Thank you very much, Megan. Jérôme.
Merci beaucoup, Samer. Merci, Sébastien. Thanks, Megan. See you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me. Merci.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.